A common topic I've been seeing a lot pop up is whether or not someone is racist or sexist if they have a preference for a race or gender. While I don't believe most people agree with this statement, I want to look at why someone might view this and why I think they are wrong. I will be reviewing a video from Riley J. Dennis called Your Dating Preferences Are Discriminatory. Riley J. Dennis. I know the video has been reviewed countless times, however, Riley has since gone on and decided to further explain her opinion on Tumblr post, and I will be reviewing this as well. Without further introduction, let's jump right into her video.
Would you date someone who's trans? Would you date someone who's black? Would you date someone who's fat? Would you date someone who's disabled? Now, honestly, I don't know what your answer is to those questions, but I've met a surprising number of people who would say no to all or at least some of them. Their argument is that it's just a preference and that you can't control who you're attracted to.
Now, the reason this is a common response is because for most people, it's a very logical one. This is a very similar argument to are you born gay or are you taught to be gay? I believe that most people in our society have come to the agreement that most gay people are born gay, and so their sexual preference is for someone of the same gender as them. This is very important because there are people who think you can pray the gay away. I think most people struggle with your argument because you seem to share a similar line of thinking.
I think most of the time that this is brought up, it's in regards to race. I'll link to a couple really good videos in the description about racial dating preferences.
I don't agree that preference is most often the argument in regards to race. However, even if it was the argument, it is just as valid.
But in this video, I want to talk about our other biases. Let's start with trans people. Would you date a trans person, honestly? Think about it for a second. Okay, got your answer? Well, if you said no, I'm sorry, but that's pretty discriminatory.
There are a plethora of reasons why someone might not date a trans person. Some of them might even be discriminatory reasons. However, if someone is looking for a relationship to end with children, then a trans person is probably not an ideal partner for you. Even women who have transitioned from male to female often suffer from infertility and will no longer be able to produce an offspring. There are medical procedures that might work, but are not guaranteed. If the reason you don't want to date a trans person is because you don't find the idea of their genitals appealing, then that is also not discriminatory either, and I will explain why in a minute.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you're a horrible person who hates trans people. There was probably a time in my life when I said I wouldn't date a trans person. But since then, I've thought critically about it and changed my mind. I could sit here and show you photos of conventionally attractive trans people. There are definitely trans people who you would never know are trans unless they told you, because they pass for cis. And that might convince some of you. But I think arguing that you would only like a trans person if you didn't know they were trans is a poor argument. I think you could be attracted to any trans person, whether they pass or not.
Finding someone attractive and wanting to date someone are two distinct categories. For example, I think Ryan Reynolds is a very attractive man. However, I would never consider dating him because he is a man and I'm sexually attracted to women. And the off chance he offered me a spot in the next Deadpool movie if I slept with him, then, well, Ryan, call my agent, we'll work something out.
I think the main concern that people have in regards to dating a trans person is that they won't have the genitals that they expect. Because we associate penises with men and vaginas with women, some people think they could never date a trans man with a vagina or a trans woman with a penis. But I think that people are more than their genitals. I think that you could feel attraction to someone without knowing what's between their legs. And if you were to say that you're only attracted to people with vaginas or people with penises, it really feels like you're reducing people just to their genitals. You're kind of objectifying them, but you're thinking of them more as genitals than objects, so I guess you're kind of genitalifying them?
We finally get back to why I think it's not discriminatory to want to date someone based on their genitals. Being intimate with someone is a very personal and private manner, and what most people expect from dating is a sexual relationship to be included. One of the most basic parts of sex is the genitals, and if a person is unable to perform in a manner in which you would like the relationship, it's probably not going to be easy or work. So because genitals might be important to someone, that does not mean that they are objectifying them, or as you put it, genitalifying them. They simply have certain expectations that will be unable to be met by someone with the wrong genitals.
Anyway, my point is, we have implicit biases that we were raised with or that we developed over time, and they can be hard to get rid of. And I think this can be especially prominent within the queer community. Gay men often pride themselves on being disgusted by vaginas, and the same goes for lesbian women with penises. It's difficult because some queer people have built their sexual identities on these repulsions, but I don't think they're innate at all. If you met someone who was extremely attractive, had a great personality, but didn't have the genitals that you wanted, you might be surprised to find that it isn't a deal breaker.
For those people who discover this, that is great because they might be happy with their decision, and those who don't can be equally happy and not experience this. And neither is wrong because everyone is happy. I'm going to skip just a little bit of Riley's video to get to the crux of why I'm making this video.
But we know that sexual orientations are more innate than learned. They're more nature and less nurture. Gay conversion therapy has been proven not to work, but you can unlearn your own prejudices. It just takes time and conscious effort. And the way that we talk about potentially dating trans people has a lot in common with the way we discuss other preferences. Saying that you're not attracted to fat people isn't innate. It's informed by a society that tells you that being thin is ideal. Everything in the media you consume is bombarding you with messages that skinny is beautiful and fat is ugly. And even the nicest of people absorb these messages to some degree.
Riley admits that sexual orientation is something you're born with, but other sexual preferences are societal. This is where I disagree with Riley the most, because while there may be some societal influences that affect what a society overall views as attractive, I believe it plays a minor role. To me, the strongest determining factor of what society deems as attractive lies more with who can produce the best offspring. That may sound demeaning, and that people are nothing more than baby-making machines, but making babies is an innate drive in all animals around today, otherwise they would no longer exist. There may have been a time when being fat was seen to be more attractive, but again this is largely due to the belief that they were fat because they had lots of food to eat, and therefore could provide best for any future offspring. Today, however, typically most of the overweight people tend to be poor because the types of food that are available to poor people tend to be high in calories and low in nutrition. I'm going to link an article in the description that discusses obesity amongst poverty. While being overweight does not mean you are poor, people make quick decisions about others because that's how our brains work, and we categorize because it saves on brain power.
Now, if you're not attracted to someone, you're not attracted to them. I'm not going to tell you that you have to be attracted to this fat person or that trans person or that disabled person. But the more you work at unlearning your own prejudices, the more you'll be able to see people from these groups as people rather than tired stereotypes.
I'm pretty disgusted that Riley thinks that because people can find those categories to not be attractive, then they view them as less than people or as stereotypes. I believe most people view even those they aren't attracted to as people, with plenty to offer society. Viewing someone as more than what they can offer you in bed is how you often view people as being more. I'm going to skip the rest of this video because there isn't a whole lot more that I want to cover, and there is a link in the description if you want to see what else Riley has to say. I do want to look at her Tumblr post and make a quick read and comment on some of the points she had a review of her video. I know the reading could be a little tedious, but I hope you can bear with me. Hey Riley, I know people on the far right are giving you crap for the dating preferences video, but as a fat woman, I don't fully agree with you on the video because it sends the wrong message. I know there were people who rejected me because of my size alone, but the reality is that dating is an unfair thing that happens. Sure, I will find a man who will love me for my size, but I don't think it's right for me to guilt trip a man I like to date me because of political reasons. I want that man to date me because he really wants to. I know rejection is one of the worst things in dating, but like getting rejected from a job is a fact of life. I have a habit of being attracted to bulky men, for example, but I couldn't help who I attract. Ask yourself, why do you want to educate a love interest who wants nothing to do with you? It's best for them to let them go and find someone with a like mind to date. I'm pretty sure you have your own preferences too. And Riley responds with, here's the thing. I don't think it's right to guilt trip people into dating you either. One reason I think a lot of people have misunderstood this video is that they only think about it on an individual level, whereas I'm talking on a systemic cultural level. Your example is that you wouldn't want to guilt trip a guy into dating you if he says he doesn't like fat women. I think your reaction is completely normal. In my instance, if someone doesn't want to date me because they never date trans people, that's fine with me. I'll move on and find someone else. I have no interest in trying to date a transphobe or just someone who just isn't attracted to me for whatever reason. I addressed that in my response. That is, you and me at an individual level dealing with individuals. The point I wanted to bring up by reading this was that it seems like Riley believes that if you are not interested in dating someone because they are trans or fat or any other category previously mentioned, then you are phobic to that category. I don't know where she gets this idea or if she has a different way of defining phobia, but the definition I use is the same as Google of an extreme or irrational fear of or aversion to something. To me, not having feelings for or desire to have feelings for someone in those categories does not qualify someone to be considered a transphobe or any other phobe. So that's the end of my video. I hope you all enjoyed my second video, and I will continue to try to bring out one video per week. If you have any recommendations on how I can improve my videos, please leave a comment, and I will hope you like, share, and subscribe. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.